Welcome to this video series that looks at some essential skills for studying at university. Obviously, we can't cover everything in the course of this relatively short series, but hopefully it will at least serve as an introduction to some key skills and point you in the direction of more help should you need it. The series covers three key areas: reading and note-making, academic writing, and referencing. This video will focus on academic writing. Many university assignments involve having to produce written work, and we're going to give you some tips and information here. So you'll probably come across three main types of writing at university: essays, reports, and reflective accounts. Essays are most common in humanities and arts subject. Reports are more common in science subjects or some business related ones, and reflections are most common in health and social care, social work or education, disciplines where reflective practice is the norm. Any subject area may require you to do any of these forms of writing though, it's just that they are more predominant in certain fields. Essays answer a specific question. They are usually between 2,000 to 4,000 words long, and they rarely use subheadings. They're the most prominent assessment method in many disciplines. They enable you to show not only your ability to produce a sustained piece of writing, but more importantly, to answer a specific question with a well thought out and coherent argument. You're always given that set word count, so you need to make sure your writing is carefully considered. Here's an example question. All essays ask you to answer a specific question or a set of related questions. You are primarily being assessed on your ability to answer it appropriately. Most essay questions ask you to do something. In this case, you're being asked to evaluate. Others may ask you to analyse, examine, or decide to what extent something is the case. These all require subtly different ways of approaching the question. For example, if you're evaluating, you're assessing the worth of something. If you're analysing, you're breaking something down into its component parts and seeing how or whether they work together successfully. There is information on our website about what all the different instruction words are asking you to do. This instruction word is asking you to do something to the main issue of the question, in this case staff appraisal. But it's not asking for everything you know about the role of staff appraisal. It's asking you to only consider its role in contributing to performance management. Now, I'm not an expert in business, so this means very little to me, but it's clear that after doing some reading, I should be able to come to a judgment about how important staff appraisal is in performance management. So the overall conclusion of the essay could be one of many. For example, staff appraisal is the most important tool. Staff appraisal is only one of many tools. Staff appraisal has very little effect. Or even, staff appraisal is potentially detrimental. There are no right or wrong answers, only well or badly justified ones. It's the purpose of the essay to justify the conclusion that you have come to. Reports explain what you have done and found out during a project. As mentioned, they're particularly dominant in science subjects where you often have to undertake a practical project and need to report back on it. They're also used a lot in business where they have a slightly different format. They are all split into sections and include subheadings. They also use tables, diagrams, charts, photographs, things like that. You will be advised by your tutors of the structure of any reports you need to write. Reflective accounts are common in all subjects that involve placements, so that you can reflect on your own actions and learning. They're sometimes produced as essays and sometimes as reports, but they're very much focused on self-improvement. So you might include things like, I really struggled with. It made me feel anxious because. What worked best for me was. And going forward, I will. Learning from your experiences is a key aspect of many disciplines. Whatever type of writing you're doing, it should be evidenced. So with an essay, you will always have evidence from your reading. Some disciplines will also have evidence from your practice and some from primary sources. With a report, You will always have evidence from the results of the project itself, and that will be backed up by evidence from your reading. With a reflective account, there will always be evidence from your own practice, and again, it will be backed up by evidence from your reading to help you make sense of the experiences you've had. Evidence from reading is incorporated using three main methods: paraphrasing, summarising, and quotations. If you're paraphrasing, then you've found something an author has written that is particularly relevant to the point you're making, and you're putting it in your own words. Summarising is actually a bit more common. With this, you've recognised the main points that an author has made and are shortening and perhaps combining them again into your own words. Sometimes you want to use the author's exact words. Perhaps it's a definition or a particularly pertinent way of putting something. In that case, you can use a direct quotation, but you must make this obvious in your writing. The evidence from your reading is only one of three essential parts to academic writing. First, you need to make a claim, you back that up with your evidence, and you attempt to persuade the reader of its importance. Those three things together make up an academic argument, and they're the building blocks of good critical writing. Each of these will be explained next. Claims are the points you're making in your writing, so you're actually asserting something. Here are a couple of examples. The claim is usually made in the first sentence of each paragraph. The evidence supports and backs up each claim. There can be two different types of evidence. One is uncontested knowledge. These are things that you know to be true, often facts and figures or historical events. For example, we definitely know that Margaret Thatcher won 3 general elections as leader. So that is a piece of uncontested knowledge. And you can be quite definite about that in the way that you write about it. Other forms of evidence are contested knowledge. These are claims and opinions from the literature, not necessarily definite truths. For example, Margaret Thatcher was elected leader despite, not because, of her strong views. This is an opinion of a particular author. You can still use it as evidence, but obviously you need to be a little more cautious about the way you write about it. So uncontested knowledge is what you know to be true, and contested knowledge is what you believe to be true. At university, a lot of the evidence you use will be contested knowledge, as you are dealing with new thoughts, ideas, and research. The evidence usually follows the point of your paragraph. The attempt to persuade has two functions. The first is to explain to the reader how the evidence backs up the claim. And the second is explaining to the reader why the claim is important to your overall argument. This is usually the last part of your paragraph. Without all three, your writing will not be effective. If you have no claim, it can be confusing. You don't want to make your reader have to work hard to make sense of your work. If there's no evidence, then these are just unsubstantiated opinions. They could even be plagiarised ideas, so you need to be careful. And if there's no attempt to persuade, then your writing is informative, but it's not persuasive. It is descriptive, not critical. And critical writing is highly praised at university. We've got several skills guides with help and support on academic writing. We know that this has been a lot to take in, but more information and support is available by going to the Skills Team's website at the address shown here. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy your time at the University of Hull.